Hi, my name is Derek Griner. I've been working in the counseling and psychological services at Brigham Young University for about 10 years.
And I'm Mark Beecher, and I've been working in counseling and psychological services for actually about 25 years. And it's been a great ride. We wanted to talk today a little bit about our internship program and give you a sense of how our group program and our internship program have kind of developed together and how we found that to be a powerful combination. And we just want to start by saying that we really value group in our center and wanted to give you a brief history of how that's developed. So even back to the beginning of our internship in 1989, we were already doing groups back then, but very few. But even then, interns were able to co-lead groups, but over time, we've grown from just a few groups each week to actually now 25 to 30 groups each semester that are held each week. And most of those are co-led by a trainee of some kind, and many interns. All of our interns participate in the group, and many of our groups are co-led by interns. We have a number of different kinds of groups. Many of our groups are just general process-oriented groups, but we also have a number of theme-specific groups. Things like groups for people with OCD or eating disorders or trauma experiences, but also groups that are based around some theoretical approach like compassion-focused therapy or those kinds of things. And we'll talk some more about those maybe as we go along. Over the course of time too, we've really increased in terms of the training and our commitment to group. And a lot of that has happened through the work of great group coordinators like Robert Gleave, who really fought for group. And it's fought to create a strong center culture of group as a primary mode of treatment, and working with administrators to see the value of group and to see it as equivalent to individual therapy, and then helping interns to be involved in that as well. And just one other piece too is that there's been an increase in terms of just the training that we get on a regular basis as well. Back in the day, one or two of us would go to the American Group Psychotherapy Association's annual meeting, but over the course of time, it's become something that 10 to 15 of us will go to each year. And so it's really become a powerful thing in terms of training and really a commitment and an excitement about group in our center.
I don't know if you saw the slide before, but when it said "we value group," there was an exclamation point after that. I guess I just want to say that because we really do value group, and in the same way, we value our interns, exclamation point there as well. We really feel that interns come in and they give a lot of new information and kind of cutting edge research that they've been involved in. So we really value the insights and abilities that our interns bring to us. Just a quick overview of our internship program. We have 4 full-time pre-doctoral interns who are in our center. And they're given great latitude to tailor the experience to their liking. We really want our interns to get the training that they want and that they need. In our internship program, trainees, the interns are given top priority. They get to choose the groups that they want to run first. They get to choose who they would like to run groups with, and they get to choose who they want to have supervise them. Again, we just really give a lot of priority to our interns, and we value the training that we provide to them.
So from there, we wanted to give you that as a context for kind of what our center's like and how our internship program works. We wanted to talk about some of the didactic experiences and some of the other experiences that our interns get that map onto the group specialty requirements. So we wanted to talk about what our internship offers in terms of didactic training opportunities for interns. So we recognize that all interns come with a vast difference in terms of their experience and training in group. And many come even without any training or any experience in group. And we're set up to be able to handle that. We take interns where they are and really try and tailor their training experience so that we can be able to get them up to speed, to be able to co-lead groups very quickly and if they really don't have any training at all, there's always the option of completing the American Group Psychotherapy Association's Principles course, which can really get them up to speed.
And beyond the group principles course, we also have in-service that we provide each week in our counseling center. And many of these in-service presentations focus on group psychotherapy. Some of the topics of group psychotherapy that we have focused on have included group induction. How do you determine who is a good member for group? What about practice-based evidence? What does the research show us about the efficacy of group? We also want to help them understand how to terminate groups and begin groups, and basically just some training on group psychotherapy. Again, recognizing that people are in different spots in regard to the training that they've received.
As I mentioned earlier, we have several theme-specific groups every week. And one of the great training opportunities that interns have is to be able to study and be prepared to be able to co-lead those groups. So for example, well, a little bit later, Derek will talk about the compassion-focused therapy group and a little bit more about how that works in terms of their training and getting up to speed. But maybe an example right now would be just, I lead one of our eating disorder or groups for people with eating disorders. And one of the things that we have new interns do with that is maybe get some readings or some understanding of diet culture and really help them to be able to get into that world. And then also our groups have a lot of specialized activities that we do, some structured activities. And so helping them to read through those activities so that they're prepared to be able to maybe even co-lead or present those activities and lead those activities. So there's really an opportunity for them to learn and grow in a didactic way, even as they co-lead these groups.
We also have a weekly group consultation meeting, and this is a chance for anyone who's interested in group to meet together on a weekly basis for an hour to talk about groups. It's time to talk about what groups they're running, what problems they're running into, what successes they're having. And the nice thing about this is that there's a lot of faculty members who attend this group, and we can then provide supervision for students attending the group as well. Many interns have come to this and have enjoyed the training that they've received, or at least they tell us that.
Our center maybe is somewhat unique in that we have the opportunity to provide research opportunities around group therapy as well. Years ago, Gary Burlingame and Robert Gleave and others put together a group that's now called the Consortium for Group Research and Practice. And now there are many faculty members and students that all meet weekly to be able to talk about different research projects related primarily to group, whether it's practice-based evidence, developing measures, those kinds of things. Or currently, we spend a lot of time talking about compassion-focused therapy and those groups and how they work. But there's options or opportunities for interns to be able to get involved in that research and be able to see how it works and see the impact it has on practice in the center.
And we really strongly encourage our students to get involved in conferences that are based in group psychotherapy. Mark talked earlier about the American Group Psychotherapy Association and how we've had more of our staff and faculty who have gone to receive more training in group therapy at this conference. We really encourage our interns to do the same. And by encourage, we write letters supporting them. We ask to have tuition covered and support their petitions to have their tuition covered. Anything we can do to get our interns to group conferences, we're willing to do that.
So I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk a little bit about the experiential training that interns in our center are able to access. And really, as Derek's mentioned, we're just really passionate about group. And we really believe that the best group training is actually being able to get in and co-lead and be a participant in that group process as a co-leader. And so our interns all have a minimum requirement of at least 3 groups that they need to do over the course of the year, and the requirement of 55 hours in collating a group that they need to do. And at least one of those groups needs to be a process-oriented group.
And beyond doing this, they can also, or interns can also do a group rotation option. And this is basically a specialization in group. In order to get this group rotation, the intern has to run at least 2 groups over the course of a semester. We have one intern who right now is currently running 3 groups. And so she's getting 6 hours of group psychotherapy experience each week, as well as extensive supervision before and after the group that she's running.
And that's a nice lead into that, the whole supervision aspect, which I think is a massive part of the training that they get by this experience. So most of our groups, not all, but most of our groups are 2-hour groups, and they'd spend typically an hour and a half in the group, and then the last half hour is spent talking about the group and what happened in it. So maybe they talk about the experience of what happened in the group, both for the members and the leaders. They'll go over the interactions between the leaders and how that went and how that interplay happened, the rationale for the interventions that either one of them used during the group, and then conceptualizing what's happening in the group and how can we prepare for the upcoming week, strategizing for maybe activities that we might use or interventions that we might need to use with certain members, and just general treatment planning. So really an abundance of opportunities to really get in and figure out what's happening with that group.
And maybe similar to what Mark was just saying is with the supervision, we also supervise case notes and the documentation of what was happening in group therapy. One of the things that I really enjoy, I don't enjoy the notes so much, but I do enjoy the opportunity to consult with people about what it is that they're writing. I think when we sit down and we write out what has happened in group, we get a chance to think about, am I doing what I set out to do? Are we following the theory that we say that we're following in this group? Basically, are we attending to group content and group process, and how? My experience has been that as interns are able to read my case notes, they get a sense for how I'm conceptualizing group, and I also get a sense for how they're conceptualizing group by reviewing their notes. And we really take a collaborative approach in making sure that we're understanding what it is that we're documenting and what it is that we're doing.
Great. So just as a final piece, we want to talk about, well, not as final piece, but we want to talk about the positive outcomes that come from this internship. And so there's so many things that come from this opportunity. First of all is just significant group experience. As you've seen, our interns get lots of opportunities to actually be in groups, and they really come out of it having had many opportunities to see how this works and play it out.
And I hope you can tell, as Mark and I have been talking, we have a passion for group, and I think this rubs off on the interns that attend our internship. Many of them leave and take the passion for group with them, and that tends to be a career-long passion.
The other thing is that our interns leave excellently prepared for any postdoc or other work setting that either has a good, strong group program or wants to create one, because they've seen how it works. They've had these experiences, and they just are excellent candidates for these positions.
And then the last thing is, in our internship, they have the opportunity for group-related research. And not all of them have, it's not a requirement, but many of our interns do get involved in research. And I think it really helps them to be good consumers of the literature from here on out.
Indeed. So just to wrap this all up, we want to put this all together to basically say, how does what we have and what we've done map onto these group specialty requirements? And the main thing we want to emphasize is, I don't think it's pretty doable. It's not as hard as it looks. And I realize, centers are in very different places. Some are just beginning a group program. Some have had group programs forever. And that's going to be, come with its own difficulties or helps. But every program can make this work, I think, in ways that aren't super onerous.
So just as an example, the compassion-focused therapy group that I ran last semester with an intern, the intern was required to read 2 books on compassion-focused therapy so that they understood the theoretical underpinnings. We met beforehand to review the manual. It's a manualized therapy, and we divided out the parts of the module that each of us would take. So right there, we're talking about what it is that we're going to do in group that day. Afterwards, we met and debriefed and checked in to see if we did what we set out to do and if we were able to do it according to the theories that we were trying to follow.
And then just kind of as another aspect of an example is just an example of what happens in our group consultation meetings. So, you know, that intern's going to bring the experiences from that CFT group and talk about that, or has the option to. But there are other group leaders in that meeting that are also leading compassion-focused therapy groups. And so there's the opportunity to share notes and see what's working for one. Or maybe if I'm having struggles, maybe I can learn from how someone else is doing it. But then in addition to that, there's many people in there talking about, well, I have this difficult situation. Maybe I've got this group member who's taking up all the space, and how do I deal with that? And just an abundance of experience and knowledge about how to deal with difficult situations, largely because many of the people in there are certified group psychotherapists, and so have the training and experience to be able to really offer something. And it's just a really nice place for interns to learn and grow from that as well.
And on this last slide, you can see just by doing these, just by running one group and doing the group consultation, all of these areas for group specialty have been marked off. Just by running one group, the compassion-focused therapy group, an intern is taking a look at the literature behind compassion-focused therapy. They're getting engagement in group psychotherapy, consulting afterwards. So many of these boxes get checked off just through running one group.
And in group consultation. So just these 2 things are checking off almost every box here. And I guess we just wanted to show you this to show that it's not that hard. It really does work, and we're excited about the group specialty. We love groups and interns in our center, and we just hope that you can be able to see that passion as well and see that it's not as hard as it looks.
Yeah, thanks so much for looking at this and your time in doing it.